Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. So, last week we did the Gen 2 Pokemon, and I think we're going to keep it rolling and do the Gen 3 Pokemon. So, as I've mentioned in the past two videos, I am quite fond of the third and fourth generations. They're my favorite, the ones I grew up with, right? And I think that they have a really strong roster of Pokemon. So I expect this tier list to be heavily stacked towards the top. And unlike the last two, I couldn't find a tier list that did not have the megas. And I just don't want to rank the megas. I feel like it just doesn't really align with my nostalgic enjoyment of these games, right? So I figured that I would just, use this tier list, but not rank them. I would just skip over them. I might comment on them or something, but we'll see. Overall, though, let's just get into it. So I think that the Generation 3 starters are the strongest trio of starters in the entire series, even to this day, right? And my personal favorite starter is Trico, right? It's tied. There's one in Gen 4 that I would say it's tied with, but I love Trico. Absolutely amazing Pokemon. I think that Trico themselves deserves A tier. I like their design quite a bit. It's, like a gecko. It's like a very simple kind of design. And I'm going to put Sceptile, the final evolution, alongside Trico in A tier. But I personally think that Grovyle is one of the best designed Pokemon in the entire series. And for that, I'm of course going to give them an S tier. I think that their design is so sleek. I love the blue sort of flowing, leafy scales or hair or whatever you want to call it. Looks fantastic, right? And I know that Trico is a big proponent of one of the Mystery Dungeon games, I think, but haven't played those, so I'm not sure. So, and we got the Mega already, but like I said, I'm skipping that. I feel like going alongside that, I think that Blaziken is another one of the strongest starters, right? I just love their design, and they're so powerful too. They're the first sort of firefighting type, and I think that they are the best of the three. I'm going to give Torchic maybe just a B tier for Torchic and a B tier for Combusken, right? They're not really, they're not the reason why I enjoy this line so much, and that reason is, of course, the final evolution being Blaziken, which is going to also get they deserve an S tier for sure. I love their design. I think that they, sometimes the humanoid Pokemon kind of miss, but I think that Blaziken is an example of a big hit in that design philosophy, right? Now, Mudkip. Do you like Mudkips? I enjoy them a lot. I would say that they're probably my least favorite of the three starters, but I still do enjoy them quite a bit, particularly the first and third in the line. I think Marshtomp is kind of a weak link among them. But I'm going to give Mudkip an A tier, probably right here. I'm going to give Swampert maybe right there. Sceptile's good, but I really prefer Grovyle, to a pretty wide margin. And Swampert, I'm sorry, buddy, you're going to have to get a C tier. I'm not a huge fan of you overall, right? Now, Mightyena and Poochyena are two that I am a big fan of. I think that they are a really cool early game choice. I think that the early game choices are just so strong in Generation 3. And I'm going to give Poochyena a B tier and Mightyena a low A tier. I think that probably clocks. They just have a really simple design, which I think is a good it's simple in a good way, and it certainly earns them points in my book, right? Now, Zigzagoon and Linoon are my favorite of the regional rats, right? You got Rattata, and then later we'll get Pat Rat and stuff. But Zigzagoon is certainly my favorite. I think that specifically Zigzagoon over Linoon is a very cute Pokemon. I would love to have one if I ever had a Pokemon in real life. I'm going to give Zigzagoon an A tier, probably like here. And I'm going to give Linoon a B tier, maybe right there. That's good. So as you can see, we're already stacking the deck. But when we get to these bug types, it might even out a little bit. So Wurmple is okay. I definitely prefer Caterpie, without a doubt. I think Caterpie is a cuter bug that has a bigger moment in the anime, right? So I don't know. I don't really feel like negatively about Wurmple, but all that being said, I'm going to give them a C tier nonetheless, maybe above old Marshtomp here. Now, these four, they're okay, right? Like I'm not going to say that I really dislike them, but I also don't really feel any kind of way about them. So I'm going to give, I kind of like the Cocoons. Like I like this one that's like has a pretty purplish hue to it. I think that's Cascoon, right? I'm going to give the two Cocoons, maybe I'll put this one like here and this one like here. And Beautifly and, Duskox, right? They're all right. I'm going to give them C tier. I don't really bat for them. Maybe like that. Looks good. So yeah, a little evened out. Now, Lotad through Ludicolo and Lombre. I like Ludicolo a lot. I don't really care for these two that much. Let's do maybe like here, and maybe like there. That's probably good. Ludicolo does have like a really quirky kind of cool design, right? But not good enough to get them into the A tier, I don't think. Now, I really like Shiftry. I think Shiftry, he's a little cursed in his design, but he's very cool. I'm going to give C-Dot a B tier for a cute little design. Maybe here. Now, I really don't like Nuzleaf because it's really easy to get a Nuzleaf, but it's really hard to evolve it into Shiftry, right? You need the Leaf Stone. That always really frustrated me. So I'm going to give Nuzleaf our first D tier. And I do like Shiftry quite a lot, so I'm going to give them an A tier maybe at the back, even though their design is a little cursed. So I would say that Swellow and Talo are maybe my favorite regional bird, up there with one that we'll get to in the next generation. I love the color palette of their design, right? I think it's a really good color palette. It's just the contrast is like really good. I'm going to give, I think this is Talo, or maybe Swallow. I can't remember which is which. Let's give this one like here, and then I'm definitely going to give the evolved form maybe like even like right here. That looks good to me. Now, Wingull and Pelipper. There was a story from my childhood where my friend who was really into Pokemon, like the competitive side of it, but we were kids, right? So it wasn't that serious. He got his entire team cleaned by another one of my friends with just a Pelipper, right? He got team wiped with a Pelipper. So that's really funny. And I love the Boatman's little Wingull that he chases around in his house. So cute, right? For that alone, it's going to get an A tier right there. And then Pelipper as well. Just they can go together. That's good. Now, Ralts, Kirlia, Gardevoir. Obviously, Gardevoir is a certain kind of Pokemon, right? But even besides that, I really like their designs a lot. I would always love getting a Ralts really early on because Psychic type is, so strong and kind of like rare. It's a really strong line, just really great designs, certainly very iconic. Let's do probably A tier for all three of them, maybe S for, let's do that, maybe like that. I don't want to split them up, let's do that. And then Gardevoir probably deserves an S tier, right? I feel like that's goes without saying. So these two, I can't remember their names, to be honest. I really like the design of this one a lot. It's very pretty bug type. But this, I think this is this Surskit? Not a big fan of Surskit. Maybe like here. But this one's cool, they deserve at least a B tier, I think. Now, Breloom is a contender for my favorite Pokemon in this generation. I think that they are a fantastic design. I've always used them on my teams in these games. And, a certain someone that caused quite a stir in the United States was also a fan of Breloom, which gives them a bump in my opinion. So Shroomish, for being just a little toadstool, can't really give you much higher than a C tier, maybe right there. But Breloom is my favorite Pokemon that we've reviewed so far on this tier list. Love their design. I love the grass fighting dual type. Very cool. That's a grass type enjoyer. So Slackoth, Vigoroth, and Slacking are a Pokemon that I've always had kind of mixed feelings about. And recently, with the Pokemon leaks, there was quite a disturbing story that came out about these three, and it's kind of unnerved me to them. I'm going to put Slackoth maybe here, maybe top of C, Vigoroth. Let's just put them all. Maybe Slacking deserves a B tier for his girth, right? Maybe like there. Now, Nincada and Ninjask, I've never really been a fan of, right? You know, you have this whole, like, shed shell or, like, dummy mechanic or whatever, and, well, that's kind of like a cool gimmick. I just don't really like their designs very much, so let's do C tier or D tier for you. I'm not a big fan. Maybe that. And C tier for you. Maybe like top of C tier, I guess. And then, yeah, let's do that. That's good. Contrary to something that I don't really like, I actually really enjoy the Whimzer Exploud Loudred line, right? I think those switched, but I've always really liked these guys a lot. I think that the Final Evolution specifically is a crazy looking creature, right? Just a really creative design, in my opinion. So, and you get a Whimzer really early, so I tend to have one on my team. Let's do probably like maybe like that, and then in C tier for Whimzer, B tier for Loudred, there, and finally an A tier for Exploud. Very cool design. That's good. So, another strong contender for my favorite Pokemon in this region is Makuhita and Hariyama. I would say that I have Hariyama on my team the most. I use him every time I play these games, right? You get him so early when you're in the coastal city with Brawly as the gym leader, Dewport, right? And he's just such a tank, right? I always name him after DC. I just name him those two letters after Daniel Cormier, the MMA fighter, one of the greats, because they just kind of bear a resemblance to each other, right? So Makuhita, A tier for sure. I love his little punching bag hands. I'm tempted to I'm going to put him in S tier too, actually, because his design is just so good. And then I'm going to put Makuhita top of S tier. I love this guy. I really do love this guy. So S tier is already filling up with these Pokemon. Now, Azumarill was a baby Pokemon that was added, and I actually do think they're pretty cute. And I'm quite partial to the Marill line, but not so much so that it would rise above a B tier. Probably just like top of B. I think is probably good. Nosepass. I thought Probopass was in this game too. Is it just Nosepass? Nosepass is just such a cute little guy. He's a little weird. He's a little sort of unnerving, right? But all the same, I love his design. I think he's very cool. And I love Probopass too with his goofy ass mustache. So A tier for you, Nosepass. Maybe right there. Skitty and Delcatty, I enjoy. I like Delcatty a lot. I think it has a very sort of sleek design, a very sort of refined design. And, you know, I'm a big fan. Skitty has like a pretty big role in the anime from what I remember, so that gives them points. Let's do Skitty in B tier, maybe here. And we'll give Delcatty an A tier for the really strong design. Maybe like right here is good. Yeah, let's do that. Sableye is a Pokemon that really entranced me when I was a child. I thought they were so cool. And to find out that they were a single evolution that wasn't even really that good sort of broke my heart when I got a little bit older. But, I mean, just for the design, I have to give it an S tier. It just looks so cool, right? With the gem eyes. It looks like a creature of the dark for sure, and that is what it is. So maybe just like, let's do that. That's good. Mawile is a Pokemon that I used to think was like strong for some reason, but I don't actually think they're that good. But they have a cool design. You know, I like the big tail mouth or head, hair, mouth, whatever you want to call it. For a cool design, you can get an A tier. Let's do that. Now, Aeron, Lyron, and Aggron are another really strong line for me. I think their design is fantastic, especially Aggron. He looks so intimidating. How is he not a pseudo-legendary, right? He's just built like one, but it's okay. I'm going to say, and I really do like all three of them as well. I think they're all going to get A tier. Let's do like this, and then maybe down here like that, and then Aggron, top of A tier. That looks good to me. I'm tempted to push Aggron. I'm doing it. I'm pushing Aggron up to S. He just looks too cool, right? And he is a powerhouse on your team too, Steel type. Meditite and Medicham are Pokemon that I see people really not like, but I'm actually quite partial to them. I've used a Medicham a few times, and they're a strong addition to your team, right? At least in my opinion. Meditite, though, kind of looks like a weird onion. Gonna give them a C tier, but I will give Medicham an A tier because I really do like their design a lot. They kind of have like a, Kung Fu master sort of vibe to them. Maybe right here. Gotta slow down a little bit. I feel like I'm talking a lot. Drink some of my Diet Coke. Talking really fast. This is Manectric. What's this little guy's name? Why am I drawing a blank on it? You find him before Mauville City, but I like Manectric a lot. The the Mega looks ridiculous, but I like the Final Evolution quite a lot. I don't think I've used them on my teams that much, but all the same, the design is just really strong. So I'm going to put Electrike. I'm going to put Electrike, or Electrike maybe. I'm going to put them in C tier, honestly. Maybe like right there. But Manectric absolutely deserves top of A, I would say. Even tempted to push it to S, but I'm gonna refrain on that this time, right? Plusle and Minun, I'm sure this is not a hot take that they are not really too good. Give them a D tier, both of them. I think they're pretty cute in the anime, but it doesn't really save them from being almost useless, right? Volbeat and the other one, Illumise, right? I'm going to give them F tier. They are definitely some of the worst Pokemon, I would say. Just not good designs, weird stumpy bodies, and they are horrible stats-wise. So it is what it is. So I see Roselia here. Is that really how... Am I missing something? Is that really how this Pokemon came to be, right? Because there's Badoo. Oh, I guess in Gen 4 they must have added Badoo and Roserade surrounding Roselia. I mean, Roserade is going to get extremely high marks, but the other two I'm not too fond of. Let's just say maybe like top of C tier for... I like the two colors, right? It looks pretty cool. Gulpin. Can't believe they named a Pokemon that. C tier, no, D tier for you, and then I like this guy a lot. He can get a B tier, maybe like there, or there. Okay, Gulpin, what a name. Carvanha and Sharpedo are very cool. I've never really used them, but I think that Sharpedo has a really cool kind of intimidating design to them. I'm gonna give Carvanha a C tier and Sharpedo a B tier. I love the sort of X on the forehead because that's what it's targeting. Very cool. Wailmer and Wailord. So Wailord is a contender for my favorite water type. I just love how big he is, right? I love when you get him in Heart Gold and he's behind you and he's just massive when he's walking around with you. And they're right atop them in the Ranger of the Sea movie. Huge fan of Wailord. Wailmer's good too. Wailmer. Put Wailmer in B tier. Maybe top of B tier, and then Wailord is an easy S tier, probably right there. The S tier is going to be stacked this time because we still got some heavy hitters to go, right? Numel and Camerupt I've actually used quite a lot on my teams. I think Camerupt is like a really strong fire type. Ground fire, right? It's a good typing, if that's what it is. and you find them in like the Ashlands, right? That's like such a cool area of the game. The volcanic ash zone. Numel is pretty cute. You can get a B tier, and Camerupt will get a high A, maybe just behind old Manectric here. He's cool, man. I love his double volcanoes, right? So when I was a kid, I really did not like these Pokemon. Isn't it like Spoink and Grumpig? But through doing a lot of randomizer Nuzlocks, Grumpig is actually like kind of cracked. I feel like I have lost runs to one of these as like a trainer had them. And then I've also used them to great success with actually having one, right, on my team. Spoink, C tier for you, maybe there. And I'm going to give Grumpig a B tier just for the chops, just for the design's not very good, but for the fighting chops in my Nuzlocke experience, they can get a B tier. Spinda is one that has like a million different combinations, right? It's like a Counter-Strike knife, but he's pretty cute. I'll give him a low B tier, maybe right there. Okay, so we've reached another contender. I have so many contenders for my favorite Pokemon of this generation, right? And without a doubt, Flygon is just one of the best Pokemon ever, right? If you said it was the greatest Pokemon of all time, I would not complain. I would not argue. And the other two, they're not that good, but it's all in service of evolving it into the Flygon, right? So Trapinch, I don't know, C tier. Vibrava, maybe just right next to Trapinch. Maybe Trapinch over Vibrava. And then Flygon, easy S tier. The easiest I can think of. I'm going to put him at the top, honestly. Maybe just behind Hariyama. No, top of S. They're in the Groudon movie, right? And like Ash rides on him. So sick. Just so sick. Cacturn and the other one. I mean, this guy, the evolved form, has this kind of really eerie, sort of evil look to him, which I do kind of like. But the small one, I'm going to put in C tier. And then I'm going to put this guy in B tier, maybe like right here. It's good. He kind of looks like a scary sort of guy, right? Ill intentions, perhaps. So, a no-brainer. Obviously, another S tier is going to be Altaria. Just a beautifully elegant Pokemon that I've used many times. I remember I had a run where I had Flygon and Altaria, and it was just the double dragon beatdown on anybody. It was so sick, right? And Swablu is actually I skipped Torkoal. All right, we'll get back to Torkoal. So, obviously, one of the best designed Pokemon in Altaria. I'm going to give Swablu a B tier. And Altaria can get an S tier right there, I think is good. Maybe here is more appropriate. Just a beautiful Pokemon, right? Elegantly designed with the cloud wings. It's just perfect. So I skipped you Torkoal, and I feel bad, and I do like Torkoal a lot. This is not a pity ranking. I think Torkoal is sick, up there with Camerupt, and I'm going to put them with Camerupt, even above them, actually, because these two are just bosses, right? They're just tanks, I feel like. Fire tanks. Zangoose is one of my friend's all-time favorite Pokemon, and I see why. It has an amazing design, extremely intimidating, very, very strong color palette, kind of similar to the bird here, Swallow. And Zangoose, is it S? Yeah, I feel like it is S tier. The S tier is so bloated this time around. So many more. Let's do that. Just for having such an amazing design. And I am quite partial to the normal type, so that helps as well. Seviper is like, a Team Rocket style kind of Pokemon, but I like them. I think they're, I like the sort of red bladed tail. Very cool. Got Cleaver. Give them a B tier. Nothing special, but certainly not bad either. So Lunatone and Solrock are the Pokemon that the gym leaders Tate and Liza use, and that I remember when I was a kid, that was such a really like intimidating, fun encounter because they only had two, but they were level 41 and they were, really strong, right? And they get A tier. I think that just for that really iconic gym battle, they deserve in A tier. Maybe like that. Looks good to me. Barboach and Whiscash. Barboach is going to be an F tier with these two bugs just for being a nothing Pokemon. And I don't hate Whiscash, but he's a bit derpy, right? And I think that a Pokemon like Quagsire fills this niche a lot better than Whiscash does. I'll still give him a B tier though, just because it's you know, he's kind of silly. So a B tier for you, Whiscash. We've got, this one is Crawdaunt. I can't remember this little fella's name, but Crawdaunt's cool. You know, I like his star. He is the king of the ocean, right? I'm gonna give his Evolushi, you know, the one before. I'm gonna give it a C tier there. I think Crawdaunt deserves an A tier. You know, I have never used one, but his design has always been really sort of charming to me. We've got Claydol and the other one. Why? I feel like I remembered all the names of the first two, even though I prefer this generation. But Claydol is the big one, actually. This is Baltoy. And Claydol is sick, right? Like, this is a really sort of weird, sort of almost unnerving design. And I am quite partial to it. I'm going to give Baltoy a D tier just for being, like, nothing. And I'm going to give Claydol an A tier. Probably pretty high, too. Like, maybe, like, here. It looks good. Or no, here. Shit. What are their names? I hate these guys. F tier. F tier for the both of you. It's the, like, bug type or whatever, and they look like an alien creature, but not in a good way, and I'm just not about it with those two. Certainly not. Let's put them above the two little bugs, maybe. We've got Amaranth, Fade in Rainbows, and its small little form, right? I love Amaranth, or Amarath, however you say it. The evolved form is really cool. The little one, not so much, kind of a weird looking guy. Probably a C tier. But Amaranth, absolute A tier. Maybe here. Looks good. Milotic is probably the most elegant Pokemon ever designed. Extremely hard to catch, but absolutely worth it if you do. You get an extremely strong Pokemon that is just beautiful. And I recall using it with Hydro Pump to sweep the Elite Four, which was pretty sick in my Emerald copy when I was a kid. And I remember I spent so long trying to catch one, and I ended up finally getting the Feebas. So Feebas, you're an ugly abomination, D tier, but it is all in service of Milotic, which is obviously easily going to get an S tier. I'd say even above Wailord, as much as I love Wailord. That looks good. Cast Form is a Pokemon that I know a certain YouTuber really likes, but I don't like its like ballsack chest, right? It just looks a bit weird. I want to put all the cast forms in C tier at the bottom, maybe like there. Just put them all in here, honestly. They just kind of are weird to me. This Storm one is like the coolest of them all, but still not gonna swoon me. Now, Banette and Shuppet are two Pokemon that I really enjoy. I've always really liked them since I was a kid. And I think that Shuppet is a rare example of a really strong, cute first evolution, like that can actually hang with its evolution. I'm going to give Shuppet an A tier, maybe right there. And I'm going to give Banette, I think it deserves an S tier, y'all. We're stacking this S tier like no tomorrow. Maybe just bottom of S. I think it belongs there. Kecleon is a extremely funny Pokemon. You have to use the Sylph Scope goggles to navigate around Four Tree City because these little bastards are blocking your way. And that's really funny. You know, that's like a cute little gimmick. And overall, Kecleon is just like a really sort of weird, quirky, out of the blue kind of Pokemon. I think for that they deserve at least a B tier. No, they're better than everything in B. Let's give them A tier. Let's do there. That's good for Kecleon. Now, Duskull and Dusclops are two Pokemon that while I do enjoy, I vastly enjoy the final evolution, which is coming in the next generation. So, I'm going to give Duskull a B tier, and I'm going to give Dusclops maybe low A is safe. And then you can probably guess where the final evolution will be going. Tropius is a Pokemon of a YouTuber that I find pretty annoying. This YouTuber has claimed them, and I'm not really a big fan of them, which honestly knocks Tropius down quite a far ways, because otherwise I think they are pretty cool. But this YouTuber, I'm not a big fan of. So I'm going to put Tropius in C tier because their stocks are so low for me, right? Chimecho is a very forgettable Pokemon. I don't dislike them, but I don't really like them either, which is going to firmly land them as well in the C tier. And so we come to one of the greatest designed Pokemons of all time. I don't think anybody's going to deny that Absol is just a awesome Pokemon, right? I remember when I was a kid, I just thought they were so cool. So edgy, too, right? Like, such an edgy Pokemon. And the Mega is... Look how sick that looks. I'm not going to rank it still, but that looks awesome. That looks even better, right? Absol, easy S tier, not even a question. Let's do that. 5th or 4th on the list so far. Wyanotte is the baby Pokemon variant of Wobbuffet, and they are equally as useless as Wobbuffet and also not as funny. So I'm sorry, Wyanotte. I'm going to have to give you a D tier. It's really annoying when I'm hoping for a good Pokemon during a Nuzlocke and you pop up. So now, Glalie is a Pokemon that I am actually really a big fan of. I feel like I might be in the minority for that because it kind of looks like just like a caged head. But I've always found them like really intimidating and kind of cool. Snorunt, I'm going to give a C tier, maybe top of C. And Glalie, I'm going to give an A tier. I think that I really like their design a lot. Top of A tier for you, just behind... I would give them above Manectric, actually. So, very, very top of A tier for Glalie. Schviel and... what's this guy's name? I've used him before. Oh, shit. That's Schviel, right? And then Walloren, right, is a really cool Pokemon. I've used them on my team before. They're a tank, absolute powerhouse. Schviel, you can get an A tier for how cute you are. The middle evolution is kind of, suffers from growing pains. It can get a B tier. And then Walloren is going to head back up to the A tier with his buddy. With his little buddy. All right, we're working through this surprisingly quickly. Maybe it's because I'm talking too fast. I'm not sure. Clamperl is one that... These two together with the eel and Gorbis as well. All three of these are just... Man, I'm not a fan of any of these. So let's do C tier, D tier, and D tier. I think that makes sense. Not a fan. Really just not a fan. However, Relicanth is the perfect Pokemon. This is what peak performance looks like, and if you want to argue, you're just wrong. So, I'm just kidding. But I think Relicanth is hilarious. I'm going to give them an A tier. Maybe like here is a good spot. Love Disc. It's just weird, right? I'm going to put it with this other pink one. Now, we reached I would say the sister Pokemon maybe to Flygon. We have Salamence, the pseudo-legendary, one of Gen 3. And obviously the first two are nothing really to write home about, but Salamence with his big, stout, wide body is just an incredible design, right? I would say rivaling Flygon. I'd say they're probably about tied in design. I prefer Flygon, full disclosure, but design-wise, it's impossible to ignore, right? So, Bagon, C tier. Shieldon, C tier. Above Bagon, though. And Salamence is just going to be another easy S tier, right? It's impossible to deny. I'm going to put them just behind Absol, I think. Look at these Pokemon. The ones that are in S tier right now, these are some of the greatest Pokemon of all time in this tier. And keeping with that trend, we have Metagross and the Metagross line, right? So we have Beldum, Metang, and Metagross. And they're all pretty cool. I think Metang is kind of the weak one because you get a Beldum, you're like, what is this thing going to turn into, right? And it eventually turns into a tank for sure. Beldum, B tier. Metang, C tier. I don't know if I can give Metagross S because it's just a subjective thing, right? They are amazing. I think I'm going to put them in A tier, probably right here. And now that I'm looking at the S tier, I think I am going to be doing some demotions at the end, but it's okay. You've been demoted. We have the Reggies. Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. Now, Registeel is very annoying because I always run into him when I'm doing randomizer Nuzlocke, and he always self-destructs and just kills my best Pokemon, right? So that's really frustrating, but I can't deny that their designs are fantastic and that their role in the Lucario movie was definitely amazing, right? So I'm going to give Regirock an A tier. I'm going to give Registeel an A tier too, even though I hate you. Maybe just like here. And then Regice is just so funny, right? With his call, his like squealing call. And I think he has the strongest design too of the three. So I'm going to put Regice in S tier. Like right there is good. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So you know how this whole video I've been saying that I have like contenders for my favorite Pokemon in Gen 3? Well, I was being a little deceptive because Latios is actually my favorite Pokemon of all time, right? I said in the Gen 2 list that Ampharos has been historically my favorite Pokemon, but I think through rewatching the Heroes movie and having a Latios on my team a couple times, they're my favorite, right? I just love their design so much. I think that if I could have one Pokemon, it would be a Latios. Flying around would just be incredible, right? And for that reason, it is absolutely going to get the top spot on our list today. And I think that Latios is, not far behind. They're pretty similar, and they both have phenomenal designs and phenomenal roles in that movie. So, which is my favorite Pokemon movie, by the way. Pokemon Movie 5, Heroes. I'm going to put Latios, let's see, probably like there is good. Yeah, that's good. All right, coming down to the wire. We just have the legendaries now. Kyogre is my preferred of the three, right? I think everybody would say Rayquaza, but I actually prefer Kyogre to Groudon and Rayquaza. I think that very similar to those other few, they have a really good color palette design to them, and I just think that like a giant whale beast of the sea, like the Lord of the Sea, is like a really cool sort of idea. And I'm going to give them an A tier. Let's do like right there. Not to say I don't like Groudon and Rayquaza, though. They're both also going to get A tier. Groudon, in the Jirachi movie with the sort of like artificial Groudon or whatever. I remember that really kind of spooked me as a kid. Put Groudon like here and put Rayquaza like in between them, I think. Yeah, maybe just behind Kyogre. Can't deny that Rayquaza is pretty awesome, right? I think everybody knows that. Jirachi is one of my very favorite Pokemon ever. Not much to say. They have a great movie. I think that they're a really cute Pokemon. I love their design with like the tags. I think that's a really kind of cool sort of like oriental spiritual vibe to them. And I'm going to give them an S tier without a doubt. Let's put them maybe like right there. Or right there. It's good. And finally, we have Deoxys. And Deoxys has their own movie, and it's a phenomenal movie. I love at the end when Rayquaza just like Boro breaths the shit out of him. And, you know, I don't really have a ton to say about them besides the fact that they're really cool. I'm going to give them an A tier. Probably like below Groudon just a little bit. Maybe like here. And I think that these two forms are in the original, right? So let's just put them with the original. Okay, so here we have it. The tier list. Let's zoom out and take a look, right? So like I said, I think I'm going to be doing some demotions in S tier, unfortunately. I think that I'm going to put Banette down to top of A. I'm going to put Aggron down to top of A. I'm going to put... Is that it? Let me look. I hate to say it. I think I'm going to put Blaziken top of A. I'm going to put Makuhita, like maybe like here. Come on, Makuhita. He didn't want to go. Is this right? All right, now let's organize. This is correct for the amount, but let's organize them. So obviously. Almost feel like I got to move my low tick up to there. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So this has been my Generation 3 tier list, and hope my picks aren't too controversial. S tier has more than ever before. I think so does A tier. And, you know, thanks for watching. Come back next week. See ya.